Welcome to the Photo Footage Podcast. I'm here with Mathew Irving. I'm Nick Sparks, and yeah, we're just going to get straight into it. And today we're going to be talking about creativity. So we're going to not talk about too much gear today, but just kind of talk about creativity and have a general discussion about it. So I think creativity is kind of a spooky thing, right? So yeah, it's like, do you have creativity or do you not? Is it like something you just
Yeah.
have, or
I guess it depends. Like for me,
yeah,
creativity always kind of comes in big waves. Like I'll
yeah,
have like periods where I'll be really creative, and then I'll kind of get in a slump or something. And it usually will happen when I'm doing something new, or I'm trying like maybe a different approach, or I'm thinking about things in a different way. I guess that's when creativity for me gets sparked. I don't know. Everybody
yeah.
has their own way, I suppose. How about you for
Yeah, for
creativity?
sure. I'm inspired by movies sometimes or other photographers. I kind of try to stick to like the classic photographers nowadays. I try not to scroll too much on Instagram because we both know that Instagram might not be too great for creativity. I think in wedding photography, at least,
Yeah.
there's a lot of couples and mountains, and that's kind of the thing that works. So a lot of people
Right.
kind of do
You
it.
make the kind of
So
sound. You know what I find though is even if I'm in that same mindset where I'm like I'm just like mindlessly scrolling through Instagram or 500 pixels or something and
yeah,
looking at pictures, I'm just like, oh, this is great, this is beautiful, yada yada yada. Even if I'm not like actively thinking about it, later somewhere in my subconscious, I think, oh, I should try that composition or I should do that. I don't even think of
Mm.
it, but later I realize myself coming home making similar pictures to what I do see. So I feel like sometimes that can limit my creativity in a way.
Yeah, me too. So I've been thinking about the Instagram algorithm a little bit. So we're all trying to get more likes and more views or,
Yeah.
or whatever. So when we're on there, we're kind of being trained by this algorithm that somebody else made. So,
Yeah.
and it's popping up the most popular pictures. And so when you open up your
Yeah.
feed, it's almost like it's training you a little bit to
You should
shoot a
make
certain
those
way.
things. You should make these things. This
Yeah.
is what's
So
popular. And on one hand, like you want your business to be profitable, so you want to make things that people want to buy, but at the same time, you want to be creative, make
yeah.
something new that's
But if
exciting
you're
to
if
you.
you're doing the same thing as everybody else because those
Right.
ones are going to the top and
Right.
they're getting the most likes,
Then maybe
then
that is exciting for you for a little while.
yeah,
Maybe that's the
maybe
excitement of it.
yeah. And I guess the other side is if you're looking for visual references and you kind of curate your
Hmm. Hmm.
Instagram feed and just sort of be really conscious of who you're following and
Hmm.
what things that you're taking in, then you're gonna kind of train yourself to maybe shoot more photos that you like, at least when you're starting out. But for me, in the last year or so, I've been definitely limiting my Instagram use just because I don't want to shoot like everybody else. So
Right.
trying to have more original ideas, trying
Yeah.
not to be too consumed by this like algorithm, I guess. But
Yeah,
I
that
think
can stifle creativity for sure. But it also
yeah,
like if you're just getting started and you've never tried some of those different compositions, or you've been
yeah,
shooting a certain way for a long time and you've never tried something different, maybe that could be a creative outlet. Maybe you could look through
yeah,
Instagram and be like, oh, I've never tried that kind of composition, or I've never put people in this position or something, and
yeah.
maybe you would try that in yourself and then find out if you liked it or not.
Yeah, and I guess the other thought that I've had in the last year or so is if you're posting for likes, right, you're kind of being groomed into not trying things outside of your comfort zone a little bit. So I found myself maybe 2 years ago. I was kind of doing the couple and mountain thing, and just because those ones got the most likes. So when you're so concerned and
Mhm.
looking for all the likes there, it's you're
Yeah.
gonna keep on shooting the same stuff. Whereas like it can be just kind of limiting. I mean
Yeah,
I
you
feel like
definitely hit a plateau. Like you get to a
yeah,
point where you're like, okay, I've made this picture a lot of times
yeah,
and it's selling and I'm gonna
yeah,
keep doing it, but like I wanna keep this fresh and new and I wanna try different things and
yeah,
keep progressing my
yeah.
art.
Yeah, I guess from a business standpoint, it might be better to follow the algorithm, follow the likes, right?
It gets you paid,
But
right?
to make yourself like happy as a photographer, you gotta. I mean, at least for me, like I gotta
Or to
shoot for
get
myself.
the eyes on your site. Like sometimes that's what you need though. Like
Yeah, yeah,
if you're trying to make enough money to survive.
yeah. It depends on
But
how.
that's always the
Yeah,
difference between like capitalism and creativity and art, and you have to kind of balance these two things.
yeah, for sure. I think capitalism does kind of get like a you know, I don't want to say that it makes you. I think people think capitalism makes you less creative, but I think in some ways, like it does make you more creative. Like I kind of think like the democratization of photography kind of opens up the world to a lot of people right now. So you can,
Yeah.
a lot of the lenses kind of caught up, and
Right.
you know, you can buy one lens or the other lens, and it doesn't matter too much. They're all really good. Cameras are, you know, a high-end camera is sub 2,000 now, so
Yeah.
it's a lot more
And the
affordable.
iPhone can
I know. Yeah, I was about
get
to.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're
Creativity
starting
is.
out, yeah, you can just shoot iPhone. I
I
mean,
mean,
the
but
iPhone Pro. I've been looking at a
yeah,
bunch of those
having
pictures.
three different cameras that are different, like just primes, like that could
Yeah.
teach you a lot about photography.
Oh, for
Shooting those
sure.
three cameras, lens
Yeah.
setups.
Yeah, but you know, I think at this point it's kind of like everybody has the same gear, so it's just what's in your head, you know?
Right, exactly. It's about different lighting scenarios, finding different compositions, looking for different geometric patterns in the world, not trying to find
Yeah,
ways
yeah,
to get your subjects maybe to interact in a
yeah.
different way that makes it more romantic or
You
fun
know
or
what's you know
more
what's funny, man?
interesting. There's a lot of different ways
Yeah,
to approach it.
I never actually saw like geometry in photos until I started like shooting with you, which like I
I'm a
remember.
math nerd. I always think
Yeah,
about that first. I'm like, everything's out of
yeah.
balance here.
Yeah, so I remember you did my headshots for my website like maybe like
Yeah,
5 years
a
ago, and I
while
haven't
ago.
ever
Yeah.
updated them. But
Hey,
yeah,
go check it out, everyone.
yeah, but yeah, I remember
Headshots.
being on that shoot, and you just like were seeing all these like shapes and stuff,
Yeah.
and I just like had like a mental note. I was like, oh, dude, that's so cool. Like, and I look for it more, and when I'm in the city and stuff, like it's always something
Yeah.
that's kind of stuck with
That's
me.
what's more interesting,
Yeah.
really, in the city is all the shapes that are man-made that are everywhere. I feel like
Yeah,
in nature, there's also shapes, but it's less apparent. And like, I don't
yeah,
know. I feel like in nature, I'm more looking for the lighting and I'm trying to make a feel. But in the city, yeah, I'm always thinking about patterns and shapes. Always. I think
yeah,
that's for me. That's part of my creative way.
yeah, for sure. Do you think media consumption can kind of push you in a direction, kind of like social media creatively?
What do you mean?
So, again, in like the last year or so, I've been sort of more intentional about what I'm consuming and stuff, and so
The more minimalistic like approach to life
yeah,
through
yeah,
television and everything
yeah,
around
kind
you.
of
Yeah.
just
Trying to keep it
curating what I'm taking in.
Just keep
So
it down to what you enjoy
yeah,
and don't just mindlessly watch things that don't matter to you.
yeah. So like if I'm on YouTube or something,
Hmm.
then you know, and I'm watching gear videos, then I don't feel creative. I feel like, oh, I have to have this
Yeah, I
lens.
need that, or else I'm not going to be the next greatest
Yeah,
photographer. I
yeah, and
have to have this
so
thing all the
yeah,
time.
totally. And so I guess like one thing I've been trying to do more is just look at sort of just photographers that I find really creative that
Hmm.
you know maybe did something 20
Yeah,
years
yeah,
ago
and sometimes they have
that's
like the
amazing.
equipment that's crap, and they're like shooting through a bottle cap or something, and you're like, "What?
Yeah,
What are you doing?" You know,
yeah,
and just the wackiest kind of things that you would never think to do, but it's just creativity that makes an image that you've
yeah.
never seen before, and you're like,
Do,
"How do I do it?
okay,
How do I
so
do it?"
like let's say you watch 5 hours of reality TV a week.
I mean, I personally don't, but
just as a hypothetical.
hypothetically speaking, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you replace that with 5 hours of photo documentaries a week. Do you
Oh
think?
yeah, you totally have a different
Yeah,
perspective. Like I
yeah,
do watch a lot of photo documentaries,
yeah.
especially in the
Same.
off season, because like we live in Denver, where the wedding photography is really busy. But like once it gets to wintertime, like we slow
Yeah,
down a lot. We might have 1 or 2 weddings a month at the
yeah,
most, and like we have time to kind of reflect and watch photo documentaries and refine our
yeah,
processes.
yeah. 100%.
And I
One
feel
one
like
thing I did recently is I kind of looked at all like cinema lists and figured out sort of what is considered like the greatest film and like what's
yeah,
interesting
just go watch movies that are
to photographers and stuff.
compositionally
So
interesting.
yeah, I mean, I'm not just for an example, like if you replace like the greatest films of all time with action, or you sorry, other way around. If you replaced action movies with the greatest films of all time, I think that'll develop your eye more, give you more inspiration.
Sometimes the action movies are the best films of all times. There's a few.
Which ones?
Apocalypse Now.
Okay, what about
Yeah.
Fast and Furious?
Well, that's not my taste, but I can understand that there's probably people that enjoy that. But
Yeah.
that's not something I watch. But I'm sure there's good composition
Yeah.
somewhere in there. There's a great director of photography that got hired for it, right? It's not like
Yeah,
a phone-in job. You always care about your composition, especially if you're a director of photography for something like that's your gig. Everybody's judging you by it.
yeah,
I feel like a lot of times it's good to get that creativity though from those professionals, because like you go see like this crazy movie. Like I remember a couple times I've seen Star Wars in the theaters, like the newer Star Wars movies, especially the J.J. Abrams one, where I was just like, oh man, that is so cool looking. How did he ever do that? How can
like
I do that? Or these really, really wide angle shots that I normally kind of veer away from, that I've been shooting more and more. So I feel like you can get some creativity from the movies, but like once you start doing that, you can't really watch TV and movies the same ever again. You're always just kind of analyzing it, and you're thinking about the angles and the compositions and the f-stops and the, you know what I mean? It's more about the lighting and the
that's one of the things I appreciate about being a photographer is like since I became a photographer, I see lighting everywhere. I see shadows. It made me see the world totally different. So.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah,
totally. I can't enjoy a show like I used to. I can't just mindlessly watch a show. I'm like, oh man, look at that lighting. How did he use that ISO here? This is horrible. You become very judgmental of that sort of stuff. So. But you also get a lot of creativity out of it. Like
for sure.
If it's somebody you really admire, that's
so kind of like conscious watching,
Yeah. I think what you're doing, like going back through like the highest rated movies that are specific to like maybe more of an art director mind.
Yeah. I've never seen Blade Runner, and I hear so many people.
Cool.
I seriously hear
both the Blade Runners are cool. The new one's cool too.
I hear so many people just talk about like the lighting and how kind of revolutionary it was.
It's like dated now, like the original one, but still you can watch it and you're just like, man, they made all this. This is all real, and they did it with film, and it's so pretty and it's cool. And it's interesting to watch.
Yeah,
cool,
for sure.
Cool show.
Yeah, it's interesting. One thing I've noticed, there's a trend towards more sort of like neon colors in a lot of photography.
Or like doing like color shifts, like orange and blues, like where they're like trying to like cut people out of the background.
Yeah, there's one photographer, I forget his name, but he's done like the Weeknd's promo pics for that and like A$AP Rocky and stuff, and he references Blade Runner on his website, and it's a lot of this sort of like it looks like next level, like really kind of experimental type stuff. And
definitely,
so
and it was all kind of practical then because there weren't really so much computers. And so you had to kind of
all done on camera.
I like watching. The other thing I like watching is a lot of the shows that I watch. Like when I first got into photography, there was a lot of years where I would just watch documentaries about photographers over and over. And I've kind of exhausted those that exist in the world. So recently I've been watching like documentaries about the coolest filmmakers and stuff. And,
nice.
And some of those guys have just the craziest ideas, and they're just so like fixated on their vision and that they won't let anything change what they're doing. And in that case, maybe you're being creative, or maybe you're just so OCD about it that you forget about creativity and you're just so focused. Some of those guys really are focused on making something so spectacular that normal people could never do it again. It was just so cool.
Yeah, one thing I might do if I watch a movie, like I've been doing that a little bit recently, is I'll pause the video in a frame that I think is cool or a composition, and then I'll take a picture with my iPhone, and then I'll trace over the composition and figure out where the shadows are, and just kind of doodle, so I get this sort of abstract shape in my head.
Yeah, just so it's kind of in your head.
Yeah.
So that like when you're out in the world, it's somehow gets through your brain and through your eye and into a camera, and it comes out the other end. You're like, this is kind of what I wanted to do, and then you just keep doing it, and you don't even realize it. Like you keep reiterating it over and over again until
photography is a little bit
the way you want it.
Yeah, photography when I first started, it was very conscious. Everything I had to think about it quite a bit, and I've been doing it 9 years now, so it's almost I don't think about it as I'm shooting really.
Because you have like I know what you're saying, because I'm kind of the same way. After doing this for a decade, you kind of like you take a lot of pictures over and over and over again. That's like your style. So like you started with this very exacting shot in your mind that you were trying to make, and at first it wasn't quite that, and I just keep making it and making it and making it, and now I probably made that picture for 100 different clients, but it's the way I want it. Like I can just go and not even think about it. Like, all right, you stand here, the light's there, I gotta get back here, bam, bam, bam. Yeah, here's that picture I've been making for so long because I've just mastered this one idea.
A lot of developing my style now, I think, is sort of taking in good content and just letting it kind of just like just kind of. I don't worry about remembering it too much.
It's kind of back there in your brain.
Yeah, so it's like when I'm out there doing my thing, like hopefully it's just kind of in my head, it's fresh in there, and I'm just kind of it's kind of like
automatic. The rest of it, like running the camera that day and being with the subjects and stuff, like a lot of that's just automatic. But because there's a new thought in your back of your head.
Yeah, it's like you got to live your life to create great art a little bit. So,
right, you can't just think I have this great idea and it's made. You have to go out and manifest it, make it. It has to become
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Speaking of that, man, I actually have one of my favorite quotes here. So I looked at this quote a lot in Thailand. So I would spend about a month and a half in Thailand total last year, and when I was out there, I would go out and just go on my feet and just shoot and just find inspiration as I was shooting. And I found that if I was delaying or waiting, I wasn't actually going to be creative. So a lot of the creativity comes as you're kind of there, and you have to go out and do it, and you have to really sort of think, and you get more thoughts on what you want to shoot as you're out there actually doing it. Kind of like weddings too. So
Yeah.
but yeah, so I have this quote. This is by Alex Webb. I only know how to approach a place by walking. For what does a street photographer do? But walk and watch and wait and talk, and then watch and wait and some more, trying to remain confident that the unexpected, the unknown, or the secret heart of the unknown waits just around the corner. So it's kind of like you got to go out and experience,
yeah, you
walk.
wait. You gotta see it. You gotta be part of it.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same way for like a wedding job too. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, as a street photographer, you're like out trying to find the shot. But a lot of times, as wedding photographers, we're doing the same thing. We're on our feet for 10, 12 hours with a couple, so we're every moment we're just waiting and anticipating. But we get a lot more moments given to us because a lot of the families are there, and there's all this love, and there's these people who are just seeing each other for the first time. So we get a lot of those moments where they're given to us, but we also still have to look for them, and we have to
for sure
think about the composition and make the lighting nice.
I don't recommend shot lists for my clients because as I'm out there, I'm thinking the light's always going to be different, everything's going to look a little bit different, so I'm just kind of finding inspiration by walking and looking around, and just taking.
Shot lists could definitely limit your creativity.
Yeah.
Like if you're all right, I'm gonna make this one and this one and this one. You're gonna just go back through what you've done in the past and make those, or just try to get it done quickly, as opposed to like make creative pictures that are artful and soulful and true to you.
Or if you're let's say you're shooting bride and groom portraits, and it's half an hour later than what you usually want to do for those, like the timeline went a little bit behind or whatever, and when you go into that new situation, then you're kind of inspired by the new light. You have to make it work. And
you gotta work around it. And sometimes you get home and you're like, this is so great, I love this picture. Sometimes you get home and you're like, oh man, we're gonna have to do some post-production on this one to make this one. But that's the thing about creativity. Sometimes creativity is a slam dunk, and like it just makes things great and wonderful. And sometimes you go out and you try something new and you fall on your face, and you get home and you're like, this didn't work at all. And then that's when you have to really decide, is this something I'm gonna try again? I'm gonna keep trying to get better at this, or am I gonna scrap that? That's just not part of my thing, and try something new. And a lot of times,
but you have to give yourself room to try that stuff. So
definitely.
For me, it's important to get the pictures I know that they're gonna really, really like, and that I've done
that they hired you for, basically.
All the things that are autopilot for me.
The stuff that's in your portfolio that you've done over and over again. Like I'll generally put shots in my portfolio that are easy for me to make.
But then I also find I have to give myself the room to experiment a little bit and just kind of go out there, think a little bit more free. And
and if you don't do that, I feel like it starts to get to be a grind, and you start to maybe not be as creative, and you start to feel like it's more like work. We're pretty fortunate to have these awesome jobs that let us go out with our cameras and
you have to
feed us and stuff. Like we stay alive from it. It's really, really, really great. But it's also a job, and you have to make sure that you're making what they want, but you also want to try to be creative.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a lot to balance, for sure.
Yeah. Do you think that there's any misconceptions in creativity, like around it?
Well, yeah, probably. I mean, I feel like creativity is like a two-sided story. Like sometimes when you have it and it's working, like when you have a lot of creativity and you're creating stuff that you really enjoy, and maybe it's doing good on social media or however you mark its success, you're feeling really good. You're like, yeah, this is great. But then sometimes, like, you'll have periods where you just won't have any creativity, and you'll just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. For sometimes I've had slumps where it's been over a year, and you're just like, am I still doing this right? Is this what I should be doing? Should I be focused on this? What am I doing wrong? Like, how come I can't get more creative? So I feel like you either have it or you don't have it, and sometimes you just kind of are in the middle, and you're just riding on autopilot waiting for the next bit of creativity. Because sometimes you just did something wrong, something went awry, and you just made a mistake, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I love this mistake. I'm gonna do this again. You know what I mean? I feel like, but as far as misconceptions go, I don't know. I guess it's in the eye of the beholder. Everybody sees creativity in their own way. Like what you think is creative, somebody else might not think is creative. You know what I mean? Because they've already done that so many times. To them, it's not creative anymore. It's just what they do.
Yeah,
but to you, it's new and different.
Yeah.
So I don't know. How about you? Misconceptions in creativity?
Yeah. I think that one misconception I had personally was that I needed a lens to be creative. So I would look at maybe other pictures with this lens and think I need to have this, and
that I could be more creative.
Yeah.
And in some instances it could, like if it was like a focal distance that you never had before, or it made like a more artsy rendering, like an art lens or an old lens that made cool flares or something. But like at some point that well runs dry and you tap that out and you've tried everything, and then if you're just relying on that alone for creativity, you might get stuck.
Yeah, I think it was kind of I relied on it to get inspired a little bit, so I needed to have that sort of like dopamine rush of buying the lens.
Yeah.
And then
I'm gonna have this new thing, it'll be here next week, and it's gonna change everything.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I went through a phase where I'd be like, I want to work on this one project, and this lens is like the project I need for it, and I might delay it if I didn't get the lens right away. I was looking for the right price on eBay or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas if I actually went out, maybe failed once or twice, I would be, stronger creatively kind of going into it.
Maybe that's an expensive procrastination. Like you're just like trying to push it off because you don't want to go do the shoot yet. So you feel like I need this lens to do it. So until I have it, I'm just gonna wait, and then eventually I'll have it, and then my creativity will be boosted 100%, and I'll get out there and make this thing. But like, I mean, maybe sometimes I'll buy new equipment or get a new camera or something, and I'll be super stoked about it for a month or two. Kind of like if you get a new car or a new anything, and then over time you're just like, okay, now it's just the thing, and it's not really. And like I'll have times like I said in the past where I've had creative slumps for periods of time, and I'll just go buy a bunch of stuff thinking that'll fix it, and it usually doesn't. Like every now and again, I'll find something that makes me feel good, and I'll be like, I gotta get out and do it. But most of the time, it doesn't work.
I like your analogy to the new car. Like it's you buy a new car, and you're really really excited about it for maybe 6 months. Like a car is like your second
really
biggest
love
purchase,
car,
right?
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe if you got a Tesla or something, something really cool, like way outside of what you would normally buy. You'd be really stoked about it for a little while.
And it's so different, and for the first 6 months, and gear's kind of the same. I have a shorter shelf life on how
for sure. Especially cameras are a little longer than lenses, but it's all kind of a couple of weeks, and then like, I didn't get the creativity boost I was hoping out of that. Now what am I gonna do?
Yeah, you definitely I find you might have gained a little bit of inspiration over a couple of weeks. But
or sometimes like if you're just starting out and you haven't used a bunch of prime lenses and you're not sure which one is your go-to, you might land on it. I remember the first time I acquired an 85, I was like, oh my god, I've been shooting with a 50 and a 135 all this time, and there's an 85. Like, what was I doing wrong all this time?
Yeah.
And like that really changed the game for me. So sometimes it can, but I feel like that's usually at the beginning when you're still trying to figure out what you like from that. But like once you get past that kind of gear stuff, then the creativity is where it really sets in, and you have to think a lot more about scouting locations, working with your couple, having the right time of day so you get the lighting just right, and you know what I mean, looking at the compositions and trying something new.
Different. Yeah, like this year on one shoot, I've always been scared to have like a couple like lay down in grass, right?
I'm scared to do that with the drone bit. I don't do that anymore.
Oh yeah.
Drones.
Yeah, so I was always like, kind of nervous to ask people about that, but I thought there was always cool pictures I could probably make there, and then I finally did.
Yeah, it's not super comfortable to stand like right above the people who are paying you and be like, all right, I'll look romantic while I'm up here.
Exactly.
I hear you, man. Definitely.
But I mean, I kind of made a joke of it, so I had them lay down, took a couple of snaps, going for the kiss, and then I like to kind of go right over them and be like, let's make the shoot even more awkward, and just like point it straight down as I'm like right over their heads. Yeah.
Like if I was thinking about that kind of creativity, and I was like, I want to try to make this kind of shot. I think this is a cool shot. I could get it. I'd probably save that creative bit until I had like a subject or a couple that was like really cool and laid back, and like they were cool with doing it and stuff. Because then, like, even if I did screw up a little, it wouldn't dissuade me from trying it again. You know what I mean? Like if I did it with a couple that really didn't want that, and then I tried to do it, and then like they were unhappy with me, like I think it would be harder for me to approach it a second
Yeah.
time. You know?
Yeah, I found that a lot of the fears I had about doing that were kind of silly. Like,
There was just stuff you were making up in your head.
yeah,
So-
I've done it quite a bit this year, and I feel like I've gotten some pretty cool creative comps out of it. And,
yeah, and now
and-
you've done it a bunch.
yeah.
You're real comfortable doing it.
yeah, 100%. And I find that like actually like after it's like a breaking point for getting somebody to care less about getting their picture taken, right? So they're like, we're laying down
It
in this
opens up the
field.
comfortability
This is
of
crazy. This is crazy. Like,
Yeah.
and then like after that, they're like, whoa, we just did that. We're just
Yeah,
laying
so
out.
anything else is
Yeah.
like pretty
Yeah.
chill after that. I mean, we're just
Yeah,
laying
for
on
sure.
a cactus, you know, or whatever Rocky Mountain's
Yeah.
got for you.
Yeah, so I was watching this Andy Warhol documentary like a couple weeks ago, and I thought that one interesting thing he did was he sort of
Andy War, the painter.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Well,
so
he
cute.
so
I guess
he
he was a photographer too. Yeah.
he might have been, but
He was in a
he
photography.
mass produced like the Campbell soup
Yeah,
can,
yeah.
and he did it like in a factory setting, and so
Yeah, he hung out at the. I think they called it the factory, and like
Yeah.
a bunch of punk rockers like Iggy Pop and what have you would hang out and
Yeah.
shoot heroin and stuff.
But yeah, he like kind of commercialized art. So before then, there wasn't all these techniques like the printing presses that he used and stuff. And so I thought that was kind of just a cool thought to think about that in
How you could like creatively create capitalism,
yeah, or
like on a
just
grand
like
scale.
yeah, it kind of just inspired me. It's like
kind of like the photographers
Business.
for IKEA.
yeah,
Like their pictures go everywhere. You know what I mean? Like IKEA's all over the world. So like if you
Yeah.
get a picture through IKEA, like
Yeah.
everybody's gonna see it.
I think sometimes when you're relying on your income and you're trying to be creative, sometimes you kind of have this thought like I can't be this creative or something like that. Like it's kind of like mass producing a product like he was doing. And so if you
It's
If
really
you- if
punk
you-
rock.
yeah.
He was pushing it himself.
Yeah,
though, like, he
yeah.
was-
yeah, so I think it's just cool to think outside of the box and just even though you're mass producing an item to generate income, you can still be really creative. So you know,
Yeah.
if Andy Warhol had this great idea where all the painters before never had done it, and he wanted to do this, then you can always innovate and try to create more
Yeah.
creative stuff.
I feel like that's the hardest thing to do in our space, in the space of photography, is create something epic and new, because
Oh, for sure.
there's so many photographers and so much has been done.
All right,
So-
well, yeah, this was photo footage. You can check me out on Instagram at Nick Sparks Photography. Where can they find you?
Oh, at Matt Irving Photography on Instagram. Yeah,
Okay,
we'll put
cool.
it in the description below.
Yeah, and if you guys like this talk, leave a comment below. So,
Yeah,
That's
thanks
it.
guys. Get
Yeah.
out there, get creative.
all right, yeah, like and subscribe. I'm on YouTube, so I should know that.